Everybody around the world thinks of North Korea as one of a kind, the most unusual country on the planet. And it's pretty obvious why, because there are a lot of things that seem odd about North Korea. For example, all the media outlets in the country are owned and controlled by the North Korean government, which means the people in the country can only really watch whatever the government decides. The country also practically worships its ruler, just as they worshipped his father and just as they worshipped his grandfather, and still do, by the way, by bowing down to their statues. It could also be the fact that the government has so much control over the lives of its citizens that there are unproven beliefs that there is a list of state-approved haircuts. But despite all of this, what if North Korea wasn't actually one of a kind? Yes, of course, North Korea might be weirdly unique with its absurd laws, but the truth is, there are a couple of countries on Earth that are just like North Korea, and maybe even worse. We'll start with Eritrea, which has literally been described by some as the North Korea of Africa. And again, there are a few obvious reasons why. For starters, Eritrea is and has always been a militarized authoritarian state since its independence from Ethiopia in 1993. And in all of its 30 years of existence, the country has been ruled by the same person. This guy, Isaias Afwerki. Afwerki came into power in 1993 as Eritrea became independent and has pretty much called the shot since then as the only president Eritrea has ever had. Now, it's not that Eritreans keep voting him back into power. Instead, the reality is the country has actually not had a single election conducted since its independence in 1993. Now, if that sounds bad, well, consider this. There are no plans to conduct an election in Eritrea anytime soon. Because in 2008, Afwerki said it would take another 3 or 4 decades to hold elections in the country.
I think Eritrea is going to wait 3 or 4 decades before it holds elections?
Maybe more, who knows?
Eritreans who don't like the state of affairs can't exactly up and leave and go elsewhere. That's because Eritreans need a government permit to travel out of their own country. And if that sounds vaguely familiar, it's because it's just like that in North Korea as well, where citizens need permission to leave the country. But that's not where the similarities end. Just like in North Korea, Eritrea has no free press or media, and foreign journalists are hardly ever allowed into the country. In fact, Eritrea is the only country in Africa to have no privately owned news media. Now, another thing about Eritrea is that the government makes it compulsory to get conscripted into the army, where service may go on indefinitely. And this is a situation that has seen human rights groups call for sanctions against Eritrea over the forced military service. Now, the next country that's just like North Korea or worse is Turkmenistan. First, if you've never heard of Turkmenistan, well, you're not alone. But here's a quick history lesson to bring you up to speed. Just like Eritrea, Turkmenistan is a pretty new country. It only came into existence in 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet Union. In the previous 60 years, Turkmenistan had existed only as a constituent republic of the Soviet Union. So that's it. History lesson is over. Now let's get back to business. What makes Turkmenistan like North Korea? It all starts with having a leader that's larger than life. Now, in the case of Turkmenistan, that leader actually happens to be dead. But the thing is, his legacy is still very much alive, and it continues to shape the country. By the way, that leader is Supermurat Niyazov. Now, just like every authoritarian leader dreams, Niyazov ruled Turkmenistan right from when it came into existence in 1991 until he died in 2006, achieving the authoritarian dream of being president for life. Now, aside ruling a country for all of their lives, the other dream every authoritarian ruler has is to create weird laws that show everyone who's really in charge, and Niyazov did exactly that. During his time in office, Niyazov banned a range of things, including playing video games, performing opera or ballet, smoking in public, and at some point, beards on young men. But an authoritarian leader isn't exactly authoritarian unless they make everything all about them, and again, full marks for Niyazov here. While in office, he wrote a book called Rumana, also known as the Book of the Soul, and then he made it mandatory for the book to be studied in schools, universities, and in government offices. Now, if you think that's going too far, well, it actually went even further. To make sure the book was read, the government made tests on the book part of driving license applications and also part of interviews for government jobs. Now, of course, Niyazov again is long dead, but his legacy of state control is very much alive. Today, Turkmenistan is one of the most repressive countries in the world, with the government having absolute control of the media. And the biggest evidence of this is how the internet works in Turkmenistan. Now, basically, ordinary citizens in Turkmenistan have got access to the internet. But the thing is, it's not really the internet. They don't actually have access to the global internet, the World Wide Web. Instead, they have access to a censored version of the internet called Turkmenet. And in this version of the internet, again, people only have access to whatever the government decides. For example, the most popular social networks in the world, from Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, are all banned within this controlled version of the internet in Turkmenistan. Now, since the passing of Niyazov, Turkmenistan has had a new president who ruled for 16 years and then decided, to his credit, that he didn't want to be president for life. And so he handed power over to someone else entirely, who just happened to be his own son. Unfortunately for the citizens of Turkmenistan, who are called Turkmens by the way, opposing the government and disagreeing with any of this stuff is considered treason and is punishable by time in jail. But what if a few Turkmens decide they want to leave and start a new life elsewhere? Well, just like in North Korea and in Eritrea, Turkmenistan also makes it pretty hard for citizens to leave, especially as it tries to slow down a population decline. And so to recap, Eritrea and Turkmenistan have full control of the media in their countries and also fully control the information that their citizens can access, either through the TV or through the internet. They also have weird rules and laws that make it hard and pretty much stop their citizens from leaving the country. And finally, they have leaders that are larger than life, from refusing to hold elections, from writing books that they force everybody else to read, and then passing power onto their kids. And all of this, just like in North Korea. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please give the video a thumbs up, as that really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe as well. And before you go, make sure you check out this playlist of all the cool geography videos I've made on the channel. See you in the next one.